This
David, did you want to
conference
make me
will
the
now be
presenter?
recorded.
Yep, coming to you right now. So everyone should see Molly's screen in about 2 seconds. And if you don't, open up your microphone, tell me, and I'll come over and I'll fix your computer. So right now you should see an Excel spreadsheet with red and black on it. If you don't, speak up and I'll come to your desk.
Okay, can we kick this off just by giving an introduction of a couple of the people that I see in attendance, but I'm not yet familiar with? So I see a Corinne.
Yeah, so just real quick, and I'll let these people introduce themselves. So what we've asked is we talked with Christine, and Christine said we need to get everyone involved now. She agreed to that. So this week we're going to finish our training, and then next week, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 o'clock to 10:45 a.m., we'll be doing our own internal meeting. We're going to learn the system more. We're going to attach, we're going to start to talk about our action items, open issues, and decisions. And then we're going to start to learn the system on our own so that we're prepared for every training session that you have.
Okay, excellent. Yeah,
So
if I can just list off a couple of the new people. We don't need to go down through everybody because I'm familiar with a bulk of the team, but there's a couple of new people. If you can just tell me your title, kind of what department you're in and what you do.
Corinne, why don't you unmute yourself?
Hi, I'm Corinne. I'm the new design assistant for Tabletop.
Hi, welcome. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Madeline next, because I don't think Madeline, she was busy with Market Week. Madeline, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Hi.
Madeline, you there?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. So introduce yourself real quick to Molly.
Hi, I'm the design director for Table.
Hi, nice to meet you, Madeline.
Nice to meet you.
All right, Nancy Egan.
Nancy ran from her desk, so she's another designer.
Okay. And you guys know Nicole DG, Nicole Smith, and Tori. That's everybody.
And what category is Nancy working in?
She's working in Tabletop too.
Okay, excellent.
Oh, she's back at her desk now. I'll let her do the talking.
Hi, Nancy. The team just gave a basic intro into kind of like who you are, what you do, but it's nice to meet you. Welcome to training.
She's not hooked up to her microphone yet. Having a little trouble.
So the way that we can do this is I'm going to try to keep my GoToMeeting up and active. So if you guys have questions, you can enter them in the chat. Feel free to also, I'll give some pauses. We're going to follow today's training agenda, which I'll pull up on the screen every once in a while, just to step through each of these pieces of what we're going to call the Design Master for you guys within Blue Cherry. So there'll be pauses, ask questions. Feel free to, we'll walk through examples if needed. The idea here is to really give you guys a run through of what kind of the day-to-day in Blue Cherry looks like in the main module that you guys will be spending time in, which is called the Design Master. I think before we hop into that, we're going to do a quick review of this document, though, that we talked about on Friday. And this has to do with you guys' size and dimensions. So, David, you had sent this over to me this morning. We had talked about it. It looks like there's a lot of red. The thing that looks like it's missing, though, is still that style category.
But red, yeah, so red, remember, red is not being considered or not active. So we're going to actually omit red, but some of the black is missing for style category.
Can we get this complete, let's say by Wednesday this week, to get that style category complete? And then I want to take another look at it and just make sure, kind of reorganize it and make sure there's no questions that remain so that we can, or you can work with the team and make sure that we can get POM templates, size ranges, dimensions, those setups underway.
Good. So stop right there. So Luz and Madeline, you are the last two, and Alex. I don't know if Alex is on this one. You're the last people that need to take a look at this. This is really critical for us to have the style category. Now, if you look at some of the examples that Molly gave, we have to follow that procedure. Red is what we're not using or is not going to be considered active. Again, all this information that we're seeing here is from NAV, our current legacy. So what we want to do is we've extracted this out of NAV. It's been in there for 15 years, and we want to condense this a little bit so that we have really a limited amount of sizes, just so we're clear from the last one. If you guys want a refresher from what we talked about last week, take a look on YouTube, video number 3, PLM, and it'll talk a little bit about what Molly went over. But right now we have to put style categories in here for anything that's black. And then once we're done this, we'll take a look at that. We're going to omit the red, only the black, and we're going to have a standard for style category. Go ahead, Molly.
That's about it for that. And then I think that we can go ahead, if nobody has any questions on this, we'll go ahead and log into Blue Cherry and start training on Design Master. Sound good? Okay.
Everyone okay? Just real quick, everyone okay? This has to be completed by Wednesday. So next it has to go to Luz and then Madeline.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I think everybody so far has logged into Blue Cherry. If not, it sounds like your team has a good grasp on how to do it. You might see a little bit of different stuff when you're watching my screen and I log in because I've got access to a bunch of different customers and admin kind of details. But the gist of this is Blue Cherry is a browser-based system for you guys. Easiest way to do it is to favorite it. It does tend to like Chrome. I like Chrome for everything, but it does tend to like Chrome. I think the best of the best. And if you're going to log into your system through the Blue Cherry Infinity screen. So for the sake of walking through training, we're going to log into the training environment. So you guys will see, some of you that haven't been sitting in on navigation sessions, each of these environments is going to be a different color so that it helps notify you if you've accidentally logged into the wrong environment. If you need to be in production and you've logged into test or training, it should look different, and that will give you a flag of saying like, oh, I've logged into the incorrect environment. Go back and make sure you select the right one. So as long as we, before go live, which is slated for July, you guys are going to be logging into training. So we're going to jump right into design development, or what we call the Design Master in Blue Cherry, and this is really where you guys are going to put in essentially all of the technical specifications for a finished goods design. What do we mean by finished goods? We mean the fully finished product. There is another section of the system called the Fabric Master, or the FTA, where you're going to be putting in raw materials. But for the purposes of design master and design development, this is all focused around finished goods. So there's a couple ways to get to design development. You can open up the navigation panel on the left-hand side, hit search, and you can type in the word design. And you'll see design development standard. From here, I highly recommend that you guys go ahead and favorite this so that you don't have to type that in every single time. To do that, you're going to right-click it and add to favorites. As soon as you do that, it's going to appear on what is called your command center in your favorite pane. So then all you have to do is double click, and it's going to open up an instance of design development as a tab at the top. So from here, it automatically opens up what's called your filter pane. So this is all of the different ways that you can look for information in the system, look for different designs, find things. Because we've only got a couple examples loaded up, if you want to see everything that's in the system, you can hit apply, and it's going to pull up all of your records. So we've got a couple examples that we can walk through today. If at any point you want to get back to that filter, you can just hit show filter, and it appears again on the left-hand side. So what we're going to do with Melissa and David is we're going to go ahead and create kind of more basic filters than what is presented today. So Blue Cherry is showing you every field within your Design Master that you can filter on here. Some of these fields you guys might not use, so there's really no need for you guys to see them here. And the beauty of Blue Cherry, and something that I really love about it, and I think that in general users do too, is that you're able to customize what you guys see on the screen. So if it's a field that you're not using, we'll just take it away and remove it from sight. Same with these filter fields. We'll do the same. If you guys aren't using something like Agent, then we'll just screen design it away so that you never see it. It won't appear in the filter either, and we'll have that matched up. There's a bunch of different tabs in the Design Master that you guys will see. Each of these have different fields that you can filter on. Essentially, you should never really spend more than, I want to say, 10 seconds finding a design that you need to find. A lot of times, people end up searching on things like short description because they know the name of the product versus the design number. Or later down the line, once you guys get really good at this, you might start searching for like the raw material that's used on it, a vendor, a color, created by or last modified person, if you know that you were in there. So there's a couple of different ways to get used to filtering. There is also on your SharePoint site, and David, you can help kind of distribute this if everybody doesn't have access to it. There's a really good document in here on how to filter at a higher level. So you guys can take a peek at this. It's a document that is filter operands, and that's what these are called. You can use asterisks. Those are really handy when you're looking for short descriptions. That's kind of like a wildcard search. So here's a great example where you can see if you enter B and then an asterisk, it will match all results beginning with a letter B. So say you don't know the spelling of something. I think a great example might be, I'm just going to use the name Corinne. So if I named something Corinne, I could spell it C-O-R-I-N-N. I could spell it C-O-R-I-N-N-E. I could put a couple of different vowels in there to make it trickier, but every single example of those starts with C-O-R. So if I typed in C-O-R and an asterisk, it would return any kind of design that started with C-O-R. An easy example and a way to find things within Blue Cherry quickly. So take a look at these SharePoint documents. There's a couple different ways. The asterisk is probably one that you guys will use very frequently. And then there's question marks, and there's ranges of, and there's equal to, and things like that. Take a peek at it, it's worthwhile. The other one that's in here you may or may not use is also on dates. So if you're talking about dates that you created something, something that you created today, something you modified today, today is a very common way to filter through data in Blue Cherry. For now, because there's only 3 examples in here, I'm just going to hit apply and show you guys how you can cruise through these results really easily. So all you do is double click on that design that you want to open up, and here you're in the Blue Cherry Design Development or Design Master. You'll hear me kind of use it interchangeably as both. Design Development is really what the module is called, but the Design Master is also this entire kind of module suite that we call within the Blue Cherry. My password is not working for training only test. Nicole Smith. Okay, that might be something that we can address. That seems very strange. It might be something that we can address after training today, Nicole.
Thanks.
So what you guys are seeing on the screen right now is what we'll call the design info, and also the Design Master header. So up here, before we jump into that, and I'm going to bring this over to my second screen real quick so that it's out of the way. Up top, you'll hear me refer to this as the ribbon. Hide ribbon is where you can collapse that ribbon in case you want some more screen space. And show ribbon is how you bring it back. I highly recommend that you leave that ribbon as showed, at least in the beginning, because it is a bit confusing to users where they'll say, like, my ribbon is missing. Just hit show ribbon, it'll come back. You can also go to show results. That will bring you back to that listing of designs that you pulled up. you can hide results as well. Navigation-wise, Blue Cherry is really easy. If you had filtered for a couple different results, like you had a collection that was pulling these three together and you wanted to flip between one and the other, you can flip between previous, next, go to the top of the list, go to the bottom of the list here, which comes in handy if you want to scroll through designs. It's harder to see here, but watch this thumbnail. So if I go to next, it's actually loading that tech pack and giving you the view, so you can flip through these really quickly and compare and contrast. The other cool thing about this is if I'm on the images tab of one and I go to the next of the other, it's going to show me the images tab of that next tech pack. So it holds and remembers what tab you were on in case you need to flip through and, like I said, do a compare and contrast type of thing. I'm going to focus on the vinyl rooster tablecloth in today's example because it's got a lot of data that's loaded to it. I'm going to hide my results. And for the moment, I'm going to ignore this. We'll come back to it at the very end of training. So what we're going to do is we're just going to step through each of these tabs. I'm going to show you really what their functionality is. And any questions and concerns, again, like raise them either by word or via chat, and I'll keep an eye on that. So design info up here, this is kind of the main identification of the design. So there's a couple of required fields that are here. Division is required. For you guys, it's very simple. So you've got one division. Okay, technically you have two. For finished goods, you have one division that's going to be, right now it's 0-1 in training. We might decide to change that, but if you get used to this, you can right click it and you can select 0-1 or you can type it in. So stepping back a bit more about these fields, anytime you see these little eyeglasses, these are lookup fields. So to make a selection, you can right click and see the options that you have. You're limited to these options. If you try to type in something else and save, it's going to give you an error and tell you that it's an invalid entry. So you can right click and you can select, or if it's something as simple as division where you guys get really used to this, you can key it in as 0-1. If you happen to do a typo on it, again, like it'll let you know before you save it that it's an invalid entry. So it's forcing consistency in your entries, which is really nice. Your design number, which we're going to talk about a little bit before we move on to the header, this can be auto-populated or it can be manually generated. So we can come back to that in a bit before we leave. You'll see an active flag here. Anything that is inactive in general, it deactivates what you see in Blue Cherry a lot of times. You guys can create filters that, it's auto set to show only active. This comes in handy when filtering for things, especially if you have, 10 years down the road and you guys are still using Blue Cherry. You can mark styles as inactive or designs as inactive. That way you just don't see them in your search results. In the beginning, everything will be active for you guys. Design type.
Molly,
where I said everything.
I have a question about that active. Is that something good when the screens are no longer available? Let's say the vendor's not producing the product anymore, but we want to keep it in the library still?
It depends on how you guys use it. For the most part, it's only the people that have been using it for a really long time that use that inactive and active flag. And the reason being is because it needs to be maintained. So if something does come back, like you were giving the example of, hey, we're no longer producing it, it's not on replenishment anymore, you'd have to go in here every single time and mark it as active or inactive. That's a lot of maintenance on a flag field. So normally what they'll do is kind of like when you want to archive a design later on down the line, to say this was created in 2019 and now it's 2029, let's archive some of those designs. You can still find them in the system by removing a filter and saying I want to look at inactive designs, but on the day-to-day, I don't want my filter to have to process through them. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I think it'll be helpful for us when we no longer have a screen for the product and we're not buying into it, but we do have it as a history. I think quarterly, maybe we can go into that.
Yeah, and I like the way you're thinking about it. That's what I want all of you guys to do, is kind of like take into consideration, because there's some configuration in the system where you guys can use it how you want. It's really about you guys setting up that process. So whatever your business needs are, use those fields to your advantage.
Okay, thanks.
So back to design types. So you've got two options here. In Design Master, it will always be finished goods. So again, you can type in F&G. You guys will get really used to that, or you can right click and select. You can also hit F2 and it'll pull up this, what they call a zoom, and you can select. Short description is the name of the product. Here, I've just used an example from you guys' website and typed in vinyl rooster tablecloth. This is editable at any point. You can change it if you forgot to put in tablecloth or forgot to put in vinyl kind of thing. I recommend you guys kind of find a systematic way to name your products if it doesn't already exist. I think it does because you guys don't have design numbers as of right now. So moving forward, every design will have a design number and everyone will have a short description as well. Stage, I don't think that we have much built into stage yet. This would be things like your concept stage, your design stage, pre-production, production, or you guys can do it more general as in design promoted, and promoted in Blue Cherry means it's being produced. So we had this discussion when we talked about PLM setups and configurations that you guys will have to think about that and load in some options, but then when users are entering in new designs, you'll select whatever stage that is. Synced from style is probably a field that you guys won't use. This is pulled and from the background, so I'm going to skip over that. Product type. So this relates to your PLM templates or your sizes, your size templates that you're going to pull in. So here you're going to say essentially, like, what am I making when I create this tech pack? Is it a window panel? Is it a placemat? Is it a tablecloth? Then when you guys go over to the sizes tab, you'll see later on down the line, you're going to select, like, do I want to reference this product type category and bring all of the size templates that relate to tablecloth up for me to select from. Fabric description, this is just an open free-form field if you guys decide to use it, and if not, you can screen build these fields away from the visual screen for you guys. Design due, this is a date field that if you need to use it for anything, it's available. You could say, like, this has to be finalized by X date type of thing, and use that field to drive some action or drive some reporting based off of it. Design finalized is a checkbox to say, like, everything is complete on this, you know, there's no other changes to be made to it type of thing. It also records the date when you check mark that box. That might be something you guys use or not. Finalized by, who checked marked that box, on what date, and specifically who was that person to do it. So if you guys need that type of capability for reporting purposes, you can. And then we also have something of release on and release by. These are types of date fields and user fields that you guys can use to track some of those milestone moments that might be happening in the product lifecycle phase. So before we move on, I want to talk about this design number. So one of the big things that we need to do is decide whether we are auto-creating or whether we're manually entering. I believe based off of the last conversations on the configuration and setup, we were talking about auto-creating this. I'll flesh this out just one more time for you guys, just so everybody's kind of aware of how this works, because it might be more of a group consensus on what you guys come to. So within design control references, and this is more of an admin table, you want to make sure that auto-generate design number is checked. Right now it is, so if we test this out, and I'll show you guys how this works, any new design is going to be auto-generated, so you guys don't have to fill in this field. What you can do here is you can select based off of what's called your merchandise group, how you want to create that design number. The counter is the number of numbers that you could use, and you can move this around. So if you wanted the number to be at the end, if you wanted it to be at the beginning, you can change positions of these. And then I pulled just two merchandise groups, product category and product config, and we'll go through these so you guys are aware what the meaning of those is and some of those options are. But essentially, you get to choose any of the merch groups that you want to create your design number. Then you're going to set your component width. So here I've got what's going to generate a 5-digit number at the beginning, and then the first 3 characters of the product category, and then the first 3 characters of product config. I'm going to select OK and OK, and then you're going to see this is an example of one that was auto-created. There's that 5-digit number. There's the 3-digit character from product category, and then the 3-digit character from product config. If you want your number to be at the end, if you want different merchandise groups to be represented in your design number, you would do that through design control. So say I wanted to create a new design, I'd go up to my ribbon and select new. I'd enter in quickly my division. I'm only going to do my required fields here. Right click for finished goods. Let's say I'm going to make a placemat here. I'm going to enter in short description. See what happens to my design number. It's already complete, and the system's kind of holding in those kind of a placeholder with the hash marks. So I'm just going to type in test here so you guys can see how this is created and hit save. As soon as I hit save, then that design number is completed and filled in for you guys. I'm just going to delete my test record because I like to keep the system with legit test data. So we've got our 3 examples again because I deleted that item. Any questions on the design number, how to configure it, and okay, so moving on to the header.
Well, wait, let's talk about this. Let's assign action items to how we're going to do the design number for reference tables. Who do you think, is it going to be by separate department, by separate category? Molly, what do you think?
Looking at the merch groups that you guys have, so I'm just going to pull up my spreadsheet. Maybe this is a group discussion that's good to have here. So here's essentially your merch groups. Your merch groups are something in Blue Cherry that are user-defined fields that are table-driven. And what I mean by that is that little lookup field when I was right-clicking, you guys are going to determine the options that are present within those lookup tables. You get to name the fields, and you also get to choose the options here. So probably something, because you guys are separated more so by tabletop and window, what might be helpful is to do either like a product config or a product category and then a sequential number, or vice versa, like the sequential number and then the product category. I think to pull it into something like customer or brand might be a little bit too low level, but this is going to be helpful for you guys, I think, in general, to at least see like what it is just in the design number.
All right, who do we want to assign that action item to? Which, Luz, do you want to take, Luz can't take ownership for everything, but maybe, who are we thinking here for this?
What's the question? We're going to set up how we want each design number to be set.
Correct. Molly, want to add to that? I was on mute. All right, so the bottom line is that, Molly, you there?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you better now. Yeah, so the question is we have to assign the action items for this in order to start to set up our reference tables, in this case, the merch groups. But more importantly, we're focusing on that design number, that prototype number. Mm-hmm. So can you see that? Yeah, so you're going to actually explain that there.
Molly, can you go back to that spreadsheet you had up where it had the category and then the other customer name? Yes.
This one?
Yes. So basically, we just have to decide how we want to set up the design number.
Yeah, by using these merge groups. So let me go back real quick to Blue Cherry.
So how many merge groups do we have to select from?
So these would be your options.
Okay.
So these are kind of, each of these is a merge group, Luz. These are the ones you guys have decided on so far. Based off of our discussion on Friday, this might be one that you guys are entering, but I think there was some follow-up to do with Tori. But for the most part, these are pretty much decided. So out of the ones that you can use to create your auto-generated design number, these are the ones that you might want to consider, or the ones that you can consider. I would recommend that you do something like product category, because if you would choose like the first 4 letters of this or something, you would have something like bath 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or bed 1, 2, 3,
Right.
4, floor.
We were thinking product category, product config, and then the design number.
Okay, so it's kind of exactly like that example as it's set up in Blue Cherry today, except the number at the end. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess because the number means less to us than the actual design or product.
Yeah, I would agree. I like the characters at the beginning too, because I just think that's how your brain kind of wants to read it naturally.
Okay, and there would be a way to figure out by season in another position. We don't have to put the season into the design number.
No, there's a separate field here for season, so you don't
Okay,
need to concatenate it all together.
that works.
All right, so Molly, so we're agreed that this is the way we're going to set this up for now for testing, for training, for CRP?
And I think, I mean, if it's okay with you guys, we can probably just do this right now, David, but there'll have to be an assignment of somebody who's, if it's not already set up in training, executes like the full and complete setup of it. This one's pretty simple, but then they're also going to need to reproduce that in production. So keep that in mind.
Got it. So does everyone understand that? So when you log on, there's going to be 3 what's called databases when you log on to Blue Cherry. One is what's called production. The one we're working in is test, and the one Molly's working in is training. How do I distinct? Up top, if you look, Molly, pull on your purple header. See the purple header? It says Welcome CGS. It's going to say up top, El Rain Home Fashion Training. So Molly, where do you want us to put these in? Because I think Maxim has us putting this in test, but I think we should all be in the same database.
If there is more setups complete in test, then we can move over the data from training to test. I think we just have to decide which one has more data.
Okay. Probably test, because Maxim already did a lot of the referential for customer style, so on and so forth. So why don't we do this? Here's, I have an idea. Why don't we continue the training, and then I'll work with the team starting our Tuesdays and Thursday meetings, and we'll start to establish this in the test database. And then I think that's where we should do our CRP, the test database. And then as we clear out a lot of the bumps, we'll copy the proper reference tables to training. And then once we've funneled that down to know exactly what we want, we'll do one last copy from training to production when we're ready to go live. You okay with that strategy?
It sounds like a great idea.
All right, so PLM team, unfortunately, in order for you to learn this, there are certain reference tables, what Molly's talking about. The merge groups are one of them with all the attributes. We're going to start to enter them in the testing database. This is what's going to start next Tuesday and Thursday. Remember, we're doing this for the next pretty much 12 weeks for 45 minutes. As we're learning here and training, we're going to ask you guys to come back with these reference tables, and we will put these in, the reference tables in testing, and then we're going to start a full PLM start to finish in our own testing environment, and then we should probably pretty much have a better understanding of how this works. And we'll have a full agenda. Exactly what Molly's doing now is exactly what we're going to do on our own in the test database. Any questions or concerns? Okay, go ahead, Molly. Thank you.
So David, do you want to make an official assignment of who the auto-generate design number belongs to?
Yeah, and Luz can't have everything. That's the challenge. But I think she should definitely, her and Madeline should definitely, and Alex should oversee everything. Alex has the most knowledge as far as Blue Cherry PLM for right now. So let's assign someone for the auto generate.
Do you feel comfortable with it?
So Luz, since you did this, Luz, let's give you that action item, and I'll tell you why, because you already know how you want this.
Okay.
You established the logic. We'll start to assign different action items to other people. Now, guys, once we're done this, once Molly's done her presentation, I'm going to pull up this spreadsheet, how we track who owns what and when it's due. We'll talk about that when we're finished this training session. Go ahead, Molly.
Let me just update this to testing. That way later on you guys don't get confused. So we're going to focus on that test environment. Okay. So down here on the header, you've got a couple of things. You'll have these are called radio buttons. You'll have what's called kind of like your basic promotion type of methodology. So you can say, I want a single style for all colors, or I want a multi-style per color. We had talked about this on Friday a bit more. A single style for all colors is what you guys are going to go for. What that means is it's going to link together. Say you did the vinyl rooster tablecloth in 3 different colorways. Each of them would have the same 6-digit style number when it moves forward and is promoted to a production item. So at that point, we're kind of dropping and leaving behind the design number, and we're promoting it to what's called a style. It gets an item number, it gets a UPC at that point. So the style will be the same for all 3 colors. So when you're referencing it, it gives you guys kind of an easier way to look at it. You can also do something called multi-style per color. This is the way you guys are going. Mode here, this is also has to do with promotion. You default this. So pretty simple in design control reference, we'll say do not create styles. You can also do auto create styles if for some reason every single time you create a design you want to create UPCs and item numbers associated with it, or you can postpone your style creation. This is kind of an easy response. You're going to default it to do not create styles. You have a field here called long description. You can type to your heart's content. There might be relevancy in here because what you guys are going to do is along the process when a design gets handed off to production, production is going to take this design master and they're going to copy it over to a production tech pack or a production design master. There might be merit here to use this long description to enter in your copy that you want to go to ecom. There might be merit here to enter in things like old style number reference if you're carrying something over from nav to blue cherry. You can use this long description field however you want. I think it's limited to maybe 200, 300 characters in here. I think also there is the ability to expand that though. So think of how you want to use long description. I recommend you guys keep that on the Design Master header because you most likely will find use for it.
One thing I want to add to that real quick. If show them where the short description is for this. Okay, so does everyone see that? There's a short description which has 30 integers. So if I type 1 to 30, that's as much as I can do for short description. If I got a long description, it's going to give up to 256. One thing we have to be cognizant of is that I've come across this challenge with Blue Cherry before. If we adopt these, when we promote these styles, and it's not a design, it's not in prototype anymore, and it becomes an actual style number in LREAN, I can only export my short description to our what's called our EDI catalog QRS. It only allows a maximum of 30 integers. So a lot of times it's what's called truncates. So what a lot of times I've seen done is that we just copy the short description and we paste it into the long. And then one thing that we'll do up top in the header up here is we'll add a UDF field. We'll call it old style number or old design number. So that's something that we probably want to follow that rule. Sorry, Molly.
No, that's great. That's great. And when you're talking about UDF fields, so you've got the merge groups. We talk a lot about merge groups when we're talking about Blue Cherry because those merge groups, again, are the fields that you guys get to essentially assign to your system, and they're the table-driven ones. So it's a lot of times it's related about to item identification, how you're going to report on things or how you're going to filter for things in the system. But we also give you guys the flexibility because this is such a robust system. There's other fields in here that you have the ability to rename and reuse for whatever you want. So if you don't want to call this field fabric description, but you have something that you guys want to do freeform entry for your users to complete, then you can take fabric description and you can rename it. to something else and put it on the screen and have the users complete it. Just like David was saying, if we wanted to use a table-driven field, which is a lookup-driven field, and we wanted to rename this reference to old item reference or old style reference, you could absolutely rename that field to that, and this is where the users would type in, you know, whatever they want for that old style master reference field. This is a table-driven field, so what you'd be saying is you'd have to load all those old style numbers first and foremost for people to select from. So you've got to take into consideration, do you want a free-form entry field when you're renaming something, or do you want a table-driven field? But there's plenty of these for you guys to reuse and repurpose. So that's reference field. It's pretty much, you know, use it as you wish, rename it. I've seen it used in a bunch of different ways. Revision number, so if you're counting revisions on the design, every single time somebody modifies something, you'll see the number of times that that's been revised. The current revision, whether it's tracking it of yes or no. Country of origin is over here, and this is table driven. So if you guys say that this is a field that you need to have complete on a really a production tech pack more than a development tech pack, because you guys in development, you might be having a lot of movement of the different countries if you're sourcing it across different countries. But at production, you might say, hey, we got to fill in the country of origin here. There's a preset table there in Blue Cherry, so you can select from it. Style content is also a field that's included. We've started to build this table a little bit. This is where you guys will select, probably more so again when it moves to production and the style content is stable or finalized. You'll select here what that style content is. Design cost, so you can indicate something like a target design cost or a target design retail here by using those fields if you know it, if you have it, if that's something that you guys in your business use. Material code is down here. This would be something like bamboo, vinyl, fabric. It gives you guys an idea of what the item is made out of. Here it would be vinyl for this example. Pattern code, we could fill this with things like plaid, solids, florals, novelties, those types of indicators, so that if you guys, again, if you were using your filter pane and you could find your pattern code field, you want to look up all the plaid designs that are in the system, you can easily do that by entering it into pattern code, and then it would bring up everything that is plaid in the system. Piece goods is again like another freeform entry field. Might be a little bit shorter in some ways than fabric description, so that's something to consider. You can rename that again. Care code, we've started to build some things. This will be used in production only, where you're assigning what the care code of that item, what the care label should say specifically. Location, this is kind of like at the header level, like what vendor you've assigned it to. There's other ways in the system to do this, but this is an extra location field in case you guys find use for it. Then we've got entry date and entry user. So automatically each design master is stamped with the date that it was created and who created it, in case you guys need to track back. There's also something called the data audit log, and you can choose to turn that on or off for changes and revisions that are made on designs. And you guys can see those changes and revisions. So if you need to know, who entered the color red and when was it entered and those types of things, it can track all of the movement within a design master. Any questions so far on design info and design header? Okay, so I'm going to hop over to additional header. I know we've got about 10 minutes before we break for a lunch break for you guys. I'm going to try to speed through additional header. Some of these fields are more pertinent than others. So again, I'm just going to hide the ribbon and hide design info, because this is a lot of different fields on additional header. These are what we call bands in Blue Cherry. So you can unroll these bands and you'll see these additional fields. Keep in mind, you don't have to keep it in this band format. What I recommend you guys do is when we start to work through the screen builder, if this is what is considered a key fields that you want complete on every design, go ahead and move it over to the header. You could move it to a design info. You could move it to a number of different tabs. If it's not being used, then you can keep it right where it is. But this is essentially where we store all the additional fields that you guys could choose to use or not use. So design note is a freeform entry field. If you guys want to make a note about this design, might be a good place for that old Style Master reference if you wanted to do it freeform entry. Color note, if you have a specific note on the color of the item, or trim note, all freeform entry, all for you guys to use as you wish. Merge groups. So this is going back to that spreadsheet where we had decided that you guys have, I think, 7 right now that you were talking about using. We built some of these out already, so you'll see product category, product config, product style, occasion down here, and then you've got a couple in between. All of these are those table-driven fields. We've started to build them within the training environment. So if you go in here and play around, you can right-click and see some of those options. These will be fields that you guys will dictate whether it's required or not. And I highly recommend you move these over to the header just because they're really helpful to see essentially what that item is. It's a great visual, so it's got all of that reporting data and item identification data for you guys that you'll start to use day in and day out.
When you say move that over the header, what do you mean?
In Screen Builder, so you'll literally take this field and you'll drop it over here. So it's on one of the first things that people see when they open up the Design Master.
So the merge groups, all of them?
Yep, all of the ones that you're using. So you have 13, you guys are only using 7. For the remaining ones that you're not using, they'll stay like this and you can keep them on additional header. Metrics over here. Again, these are fields if you guys choose to use them. You have sell, unit of measure. You guys sell in eaches for the most part. So you could choose those. If you were doing something like selling fabric by the yard, that's in there. So that can be helpful if needed. Inner pack, style weight, size explosion, by unit of measure, case pack, and weight UOM. Most likely, some of these fields will use when you guys have decided to produce an item and won't be needed when you're just creating a design as a concept or, you know, in prototyping stages type of thing. These are here though if you need them and you want to assign them at the stage of production. Prices, so here you've got price A, B, C, D, E. So you guys can dictate and say, you know, for all of our mass market, we're going to use price category A, and for all of those people, it's $15. Price level B is for discounters, and if we sell this item to discounters, it's going to be $10. That's kind of how this is set up to use for the most part. You guys are going to set up your tech packs to be customer specific because that's how a lot of your development is done. When I say customer specific, going back to those merch groups, we would include, you know, all of your different customers, and then we would include essentially Tori's business of purchasing things to run inline for e-com as well as a customer. So you may or may not use this prices as it's originally intended to. We could find a different way to use it for you guys. Style info. Again, this is really at the point of when you're promoting it to a style for production. Style type is finished goods. Component type you can use as a table lookup. That's connected through some other things in Blue Cherry, so we'll talk about that later. Royalty class, if you need to pay a royalty, this is a good way to track it. Royalty HS number, this is for duty rates in the system that you could use. Delivery code, where is it going to, where is it being shipped to. Tax category, create UPC for label code, royalty, and quota category. A lot of this stuff as it relates to design personnel, it will not have to be filled in until production, so that's why I'm going to skip through some of this stuff. Supply chain, Blue Cherry has the ability to use workflows. So if you wanted to enter in team codes being design or production, specific representative groups that are associated with security, and I think you guys are set up as design and production, manufacturing code, assign it to a specific agent, list out the buyer code or the merchandiser. You can do all of that within these supply chain fields. Again, take into consideration though, like if you are for buyer code, for merchandiser, for agent, if you're in a sourcing process and there's multiple agents and things like that that are going on, you may or may not want to use these fields because you guys have to maintain them. So you want to keep it so that the work is executable and you're not really overloading people with doing data entry in fields all day long. And then the last band here is user defined. These are fields that we haven't even named because it's for you to dream up whatever you need to create a new field for. Say there's something different that is not indicated on any of these other tabs as of yet that you come up with that is pertinent to your business to report on, to track on, to filter on, to search on, those types of things. We've got contractor as kind of a default in here, but style header fields will promote from design to a style master. Design master fields will stay for the most part with the design master and are only categorized here. But you've got a couple of different ones. These are different types of fields. So this is a freeform entry, this is numeric. And then you've got some date-driven fields over here for the design master. So if there's specific milestones and triggers you guys want to record, they are available. Any questions on additional header or any of the fields that are here?
Anybody at all? So if I actually pass this right now to Nicole DG, do you think you'd be able to set up a header and a detail right now?
I hope so. I think so.
I see the way she said that. I believe you, Nicole DG. I think you're going to be the standout champion in PLM.
I think
guys.
it's good, and we've got 3 minutes left. If you want to walk through one, I'll show you guys how easy it is. We did it earlier. If you want to
let's let Nicole DG on it. You okay with that?
Yeah, sure. Let's see if I can give you.
Make her presenter.
Okay.
David, throw me in the hot seat.
You know what? All you guys are going to be hot, but the best part, in 6 weeks, you're not going to be in a hot seat. You're going to be the champions and commanders. Everyone's a Captain Kirk. I'm going to come over.
I'm like, wait, what am I supposed to be doing? Okay.
Nicole, do you have the login site kind of like added to a favorite?
No, I need to do that. Sorry.
All right. We're learning. Do you remember the website?
Negative.
I'm going to put it on mine. I'm going to give you keyboard access, okay? So you're in the 2 seconds, okay?
Wow, this is really fancy. Okay.
All right, so I'm going to take access. I'm going to give Nicole DG. All right, so guys, just so for your reference, if I use Chrome and I set up a Chrome account for your email address, like right here, okay, it syncs all of my favorites. So I can just click on it real quick. BC, I'm able to click right away.
David, I can't see your screen.
Sorry, guys, you can't see. Can anyone see my screen?
I can see it.
Molly, you able to see now?
No.
Can you see
Now I can. There you go. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. So if I click on Chrome, I happen to like Chrome. If I set up and I sync my name, my email address to Chrome, if I open this up from home, it'll sync all of my favorites up here. So it's a real quick. I have all my favorites I need to get my job done. If I click on BC, it'll automatically save. It'll automatically save my last login. So all I got to do is click on login, and then the application comes up. Once I click on the application, it'll bring me up to Blue Cherry. It takes a little bit of time. Okay. Again, we're going to work in the test database. We can create what's called single sign-on in the next couple weeks. I want you guys to remember your usernames and passwords. And if I type that in, it should pop me in really quick.
David, and you said you fixed mine, right? So that it's not like the financial version?
Yeah, I think I did. So let's take a look.
Okay.
FYI to everybody, logging in is the hardest part.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
cumbersome.
It takes the longest, and that's why we got through 2 tabs of design development essentially in an hour. You see how quickly we breeze through the rest of this, because the login part is definitely the heaviest.
I actually have, hold on a second. I'll know it's logging on because the blue comes over. All right. So at this point, what I'm going to do is from scratch, because we have a couple minutes and Molly's being really generous with us with the time, I'm going to make Nicole DG. I'm going to give you keyboard and mouse control. Click on yes, Nicole DG. And there's no
What'd you
wrong
say?
answer.
Sorry.
Click on yes. Now move the mouse around. I can see your mouse. You can see this screen now.
Can you see mine?
Yeah, think out loud.
Okay.
There are no wrong answers. This is just still discovery. We haven't even done deep dive training yet. Think out loud as a team. And guys, help them. We're a team. Nancy
Okay.
Egan, Corinne, Luz, Nicole S. What does she have to do? We have to get in a certain screen. It's called
Fabric
Fabric. Good.
trim art design, right?
Exactly. So I'd save that as my favorite so it pops up really quick.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sorry
what's
guys, I'm
next?
gonna guide a bit more. So because we were in design development, you're gonna actually wanna go to the left navigation pane and search for design development.
I'm going to help you a little bit. This one right here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Go
Now
down
what
to
happens? Now you're going to click right here. And I'll
Search.
type in, be patient. It'll come up. If you don't spell it right, it'll come up by the numbers. There you go.
Okay.
right click that and add it to your favorites so you never have to do this again.
I'll do it. She doesn't have right mouse click on her thing, on her Mac. Right, so now what Molly's saying is that instead of always having to search here, if I save that to my favorites, every time I log on, whatever I need to do, it's always up on my favorites. So I don't always have to click. Now let's go into design and development. Go ahead, Molly, you want to direct?
Okay.
No.
So then.
Did you say no? No. Come on, Nicole DG. You got this. You got this.
Okay.
Now,
So PLM design.
since you're creating something from scratch, you want to create a new one, right?
Yeah. So hit now.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now you're going to fill in the required info on design header, or on design info. So
So
start
remember,
with.
this is your ribbon up here. This is
Uh-huh.
this is technically, it's called a header. Always it looks the same, a blue cherry. And down here is always the detail. So to Molly's point,
So you always start with the top part.
exactly.
Work your way down.
If it has glasses, that means there's referential data. So you don't have to type it. You can just do a right mouse click or click on the glasses.
Or you can click an F2,
F2.
because I don't know if you have right click access. F2.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't think even when I click the glasses, David, it's not working.
All right, so we'll have to take a look at that. So I'm going to help a little bit. Now go to season. Click on the glasses again. The Macs are a little tricky.
Yeah, it doesn't let me click on it.
All right, so let me help and then you'll check.
It's always either right click or F2 to pull that up.
So we're finished goods.
All right, let me see if it'll work. But for some reason, I guess because David, are you on a PC? Because when I do control and I click, that's usually how I right click on the Mac. It still won't open.
Yeah, I don't think it works with GoToMeeting. But let me help you with this part. There's no record to look up on the stage. What season do we want, Nicole? Did you?
We could do spring 2019.
Good. All right, so Molly, I don't think this is set up for auto for test, is it?
No, no, it's not. You're right. There you go. Make it up.
Now, what does that mean, Nicole DG? Actually, Nicole Smith, what does that mean? McFly.
What, Nicole DG test?
There you go. It's going to be active.
In the design number?
Yeah, see if it's not active. You just uncheck that, okay? That's where the picture will come up.
Yeah.
We don't have any stages. Do we need a stage, Molly?
Nope. You'll see that the fields that are required have that little gray required verbiage in it. So if you wanted to just skip over to just the required fields, if we wanted to do this like the smartest, shortest way, you fill in only the required fields and you save the design, and then you say, I am done. That's it.
Nicole DG, type in a short description.
Um,
Perfect. And what else is required on here? Liz, what else is required on this header?
the product type.
Nothing else. Yeah, product type is the only other thing that says required.
Perfect. Now, our goal for PLM in the beginning is just get it up and running out of the box. So if I want to add a new one, Nicole DG, what do I do? Maybe that's not the one I want.
Go to add new.
Good. This will take us to a different screen. Type in a new product type. This is one of our action items. We're not going to break anything. We're learning right now, so you can type in anything. Good. And give a description. Okay, save. I don't know if that's what we want, but save. Up top on the ribbon. Remember, the ribbons are a lot like
wow.
Excel
Yeah,
and Word.
sorry.
And then what happens is that once you save that, you got to go back to where you went.
Molly, would it prompt you to save if you try to exit the screen?
Yeah, well, if you try to X out of the screen, it'll say that you can't because you've got to decide whether you want to save the record or whether you want to lose the record.
Okay.
Now, one thing that you guys get in the habit of is save. If you're doing a lot of long stuff, save. Because what will happen is that we'll lose our internet connection once in a while, and then you're going to want to put your fist through the monitor because you've done all that work and it didn't save.
So basically, the name of the of what we're designing is going to be the design number. You said is going to be automated, so the short description will be where we put our name for the product. Correct?
That's
Correct.
great. Now,
Okay.
if we do our action items, right, properly, and we upload these reference tables ahead of time, I shouldn't have to type anything in here. Agreed, guys? Madeline? Madeline? Good. So if I do that, what we want to do is, see how easy Nicole DG just did this? Now what's next? What would you do right now in your header before you did anything else so you didn't lose anything?
Save it.
Try it.
But you don't have to like do like a save as like for the style type thing. It just automatically saves as the design number.
Well, to Molly's point, what we're going to do, it's going to be the computer's going to work as it's designed. Rather than have to type that in all the time, it's going to say, for this, we're going to actually assign the next number that's available so that we don't ever have any duplicates. The computer works through this thing called an algorithm, and it says, don't pick the next one. And this is what one of our action items is, loses action item. We're going to talk about this in a second. We're running over time, but talk about this in a second. Right now, congratulations. You've just saved your first header. So what I want you guys to do is before our next training session, which is another 51 minutes, I want everyone to save a header in the test database, and I want you to call it your name. Just for right now, that's our action item. So before we leave, though, I want to talk about one thing. This is what's going to be emailed to you guys. It's going to be saved on a SharePoint for right now. This is our action item open issue decision logs. This is how we track who owns what and when it's due. A lot of this stuff that C means closed means that we already did this. Some of the new things, if you'll notice right here, let's look at the last one. Today's date, when it's due, it's an action item. It's priority 1. Pretty much everything's going to be priority 1. It's for the PLM module. We need to add the merge groups to the header. As per Molly's suggestion, she's worked in this in the past, and she's found that this works really well. David's going to be the owner of this. David's the IT, and what he's going to do in the screen builder, he's going to take in that second header in the detail and add those merge groups so that we can actually really view these pretty easy. These other ones, auto-generate design number, Molly, Luz owns this, and she actually has to decide what the base for that auto-generate is going to be. For example, placemat, PL001 is going to be the start. So to Nicole DG's question, when I click on that and I start a new header and I create a totally new one, it should automatically go to PL002. And then if Nicole Smith adds one, it should automatically go to PL003 so that the computer assigns that number. All right. This is what we're gonna really run this part on our Tuesday and Thursday meetings as we meet internally, so that the next time that Molly comes and gives us a training session, we're gonna have a lot more questions. Molly, this doesn't do this or this doesn't do that. All right, let's break for this session and we resume in another 49 minutes. Any questions, concerns? I want everyone to fill out one header and have it completed and email to me when you're done. That you're done. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.